Welcome, friends of the show. We are back with another episode of the Ferris Serious Rock Talk podcast.
Ooh, all right.
A big thanks for your emails, suggestions, and your support on our social media platforms. Continue to email us at seriousrocktalk@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Listen to a new show every week. Just tune in each Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. New York City time on Cap City Beats, located at www.capcitybeats.ca. Okay, buckle up for some serious rock talk. And we are back.
We are
back
in the saddle.
Back. Yes, and today to the left of me, a man who has done many guest appearances on the Merv Griffin Show.
A long time ago, Dr. Clark K.
And to the right of me, a man who got kicked off the Maury Povich Show.
DJ Wheels.
And I'm your host, MC Kennedy. And you're wondering why we are known as these names today? Because today we are going to be talking about a music genre that could not be forgotten, and it is a very important part of history: rap and hip-hop.
Yes.
So how do you like them apples?
Well, I like it good, like I always say. No, it's good.
So I like to title this episode, in the beginning there was rap, and here we go. So today on the Ferris Serious Rock Talk podcast, we broaden our horizon and we step outside of the box into the musical world of rap. What is rap, some may ask? Well, it's referred to as hip-hop and is a musical genre that was created in the USA by inner-city African Americans. Most importantly, it goes hand in hand with rock music, as both genres have crossed over. Perfect examples are Run DMC and Aerosmith, Public Enemy and Anthrax, Ozzy Osbourne and Post Malone, Eminem and Elton John, Paul McCartney with Rihanna and Kanye, and then the Beastie Boys, who blended it all together in their own. Quoted from a writer by the name of Haley Milliman from Medium, she wrote, the four main elements of rap or hip-hop are the following. Number one, DJing, making the music using record players, turntables, and DJ mixers. Number two, rapping, rhythmic vocal, rhyme and style. Number three, graffiti painting, aka graph or writing. And number four, breakdancing, a form of dance that also encompasses an overall attitude and style.
But did they ever get stats on how many turntables were ruined by guys trying to go in reverse? Like how many millions of dollars?
Yeah,
Techniques actually made a fortune with those.
of course. I'll never forget my father said to me whenever his turntable was... No, I didn't destroy it. I was allowed to use it. And he told me, and we were watching a music video, and I think it was probably Vanilla Ice's, Ice Ice Baby. And he says, don't do that with my turntable.
Unless you want to change your last name.
Can you imagine how I'm taking his Led Zeppelin album there? A whole lot of...
Well, you don't need to imagine it. You just have to remember, I think it was the third or fourth episode of Fresh Prince when they're listening to Bach. And Jazzy Jeff, he goes, does a number on the turntable.
Well, that's a good 4. Good 4 points.
Good 4 points. So as a product of the 80s, I was fortunate enough to be embraced with the original icons and rap hip-hop legends. And yes, Vanilla Ice was a legit rapper in his day. Don't hate, just relate. So what made my generation so fortunate? I will tell you. There was no mumble rap. Artists actually used words, poetry, and true life events that they experienced or current events going on their district. That was the media heads failed to report. Okay, it was a form of art to have your message heard in a song to a broader audience. The perfect example was the legendary and rock and roll Hall of Fame group NWA, composed of Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Eazy-E, MC Ren, and DJ Yella. Their stories were real, and what they experienced is the only way they could understand it. When was rap music formed? Here's the big question. Some say it was 1969 with James Brown's Sex Machine and Funky Dreamer. Both songs influenced percussion in hip-hop songs. In 1970, hip-hop first appeared in the Bronx. The date that seems to be consistent is 1973 when DJ Kool Herc DJs his first block party in the Bronx. Can you imagine 1973 in the Bronx, big block party, the closing off a whole district?
Sounds like a city I know just recently.
Yes, there you go. Reminds me of some of that. So, raps.
Although this one had talent.
This one had talent, yes. The one that happened recently, no talent.
No trucks.
No.
Back then.
Rap's germination is sometimes attributed to the righteous street poetry of the last poets and the Watts prophets, but it didn't begin to take full shape and earn its tag until after the Sugar Hill Gang released Rapper's Delight in 1979. Since then, rap spread from its New York epicenter throughout the U.S., which each region taking on its own specific flavor, and then to countless countries, including Canada. 1984 was an important for growth of rap and hip-hop culture. It was the year that Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin formed the greatest label in hip-hop history known as Def Jam Records. As the year turned to 1985, new artists emerged with the likes of LL Cool J and Run DMC. Now we are getting some traction, and in my opinion, this is all made possible by the influences of Grandmaster Flash and the Sugar Hill Gang, respectively. As I mentioned earlier, rap and rock go hand in hand. 1986 introduced us to the combination of Run DMC and Aerosmith, Walk This Way, a rendition off the Raising Hell LP by Run DMC. Rick Rubin introduced us to the Beastie Boys and released License to Ill. And Schoolie D influenced an entire generation of gangster rap. Mind you, 1986, Run DMC kind of revived Aerosmith's career, if you ask my
There's
opinion.
no question about
it. So, in 1987, hip-hop started to mature, whereby lyrics became secondary, as DJs were often the focal point and MCs were yelling catchphrases while interacting with the crowd. This was also the year where we welcomed new artists into the scene. Ice-T, Chuck D and Flavor Flav, better known as Public Enemy, Slick Rick, KRS-One, and Rakim brought a new dynamic to the rap of political messages with sophistication. We also said hello to DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, which is everyone known as Will Smith, and an unpolished NWA known as NWA and the Posse before they became NWA. Ruthless Records was founded by Eric Eazy-E Wright and Jerry Heller in Compton, California. 1988 managed to come on to the scene with convincing fashion and has the Fab Five, not the Fab Four, the Fab Five: Chuck D, Ice Cube, KRS-One, Slick Rick, and Rakim. And need we mention Eazy-E was there, and he was when he was there cruising down the street in his 6'4", and now 1989. So before I get to 1989, DJ Wheels here is going to kind of list off a few albums from, I guess, 80 to 89.
Yeah.
Just some major ones that you think were worth mentioning, sir.
So we have a few names here and there. It's not a complete list. It's for those of you that are maybe getting into it. If you're trying to find these albums either on a vinyl record or CD, although in this economy I would go for CDs at this point just because vinyl prices have exploded.
Hard to find some of them too.
Yeah, exactly. So, like my friend here said, you cannot have a hip-hop rap collection without the Sugar Hill Gang. So
Have it. It's a good album.
the self-titled album is a must, and you're starting the decade. So basically it's 79, 80. So you have like the roots of the system. Then you go, I'd say, to Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, The Message from 82. So you're seeing a certain evolution. You're going from something that's like a party music to more poetry. Then you get to 84. Run DMC, you can't escape it. I mean, you have to have it in your collection. But if you want to have a lot of fun, I'd go with the self-titled Fat Boys. These guys had an amazing vibe coming out of them. They're completely forgotten, I think, today. Or not completely.
You don't hear much of them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Maybe they need a better PR firm. So by the time we get to the mid-1980s, you'll see names that you recognize a little more. LL Cool J, so his first album, Radio, is a must in your collection. Of course, you cannot go without King of Rock by Run DMC. And I'd say Grandmaster Flash, The Said It Couldn't Be Done is another seminal album to have in your collection. If you're going to go 86, again, can't escape Beastie Boys' License to Ill. Amazing album, Kennedy Has It. Run DMC again, Raising Hell. Let's face it, the 80s without Run DMC is not the 80s.
Or Tone Lock either. Did the wild thing on my leg. Yeah.
Two Live Crew again. The Two Live Crew is What We Are is another amazing album you cannot pass.
Very explicit lyrics.
Yeah.
It's true.
And if you want something slightly softer, Salt and Pepper, Hot, Cool, and Vicious.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
For 1987, I'd go with Public Enemy.
Which one?
The Yo Bum Rush the Show. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the French Prince, because Rug the House is just a fun album to have. Plus, you can listen to this one with kids around. Well, yeah. LL Cool J, Bigger and Deffer, Ice-T, Rhyme Pays, and Just Ice Cool and Deadly. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Justicisms?
Yeah, they had funny spellings.
No kidding.
For the late 80s, Public Enemy, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, which I think most of us that grew up in the 80s, this was like the wake-up song.
It was like a political, I think it was a political album, more or less.
Oh, yeah. And it just shows the maturity. I mean, when you think about it, jazz took, 50 years to get to what rap took 5 in terms of the evolution, the social consciousness. NWA, Straight Outta Compton, I mean, it's a classic. You have a Kid and Play, Too Hype. Again, it's like Fresh Prince. You have to have a little fun with these albums in your collection. You've got also MC Hammer, Let's Get It Started, that came out in 88. Again, for fun. Sir Mix-a-Lot, Swass.
Okay.
That's another one you want to have in your collection. And I'd say...
We're never going 1989.
Yeah, no, in 1989, people are going to sound way too white, but Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice.
What do you mean, To the Extreme?
Yeah.
To the Extreme.
To the Extreme.
The Third Base, the Cactus album.
And I'd go Paul's Boutique with the Beastie Boys because it's another one of their classics. And because we want to have another type of voice, this is also the year Queen Latifah came out with All Hail the Queen. Which I think is a really good album, too.
Oh, there we go. All right. So, like I said, need we mention Eazy-E was there, and he was cruising down the street in his 6'4", and now 1989. So, 1989, here we go. That was the epic year for rap. The godfather of Canadian hip-hop, Maestro Fresh West, released his debut album, Symphony in Effect, with his big hit, Let Your Backbone Slide. Marvin Young, better known as Young MC, released his debut album, Stone Cold Rhyming, on the record label Delicious Records, and one of the few albums out there with no cursing. Tone Loc released his debut album, Loc After Dark, funny enough, also on Delicious Records. Independent record company Ichabod Records debuted Vanilla Ice in his album To the Extreme. MC Serch, Prime Minister Pete Nice, and DJ Richie Rich released their Cactus album, which were known as Third Base. In 1990, artists like Ice Cube, Method Man, A Tribe Called Quest, Public Enemy, Busta Rhymes, and De La Soul were shaping youth culture worldwide. Maybe these 90s rappers weren't as revolutionary as the 80s counterparts, the forefathers who laid the groundwork for hip-hop. Number one songs were 911's a Joke by Public Enemy, America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube, The Power, Snap, and We're All in the Same Gang, the West Coast All-Stars. You kind of see a message there in those titles of songs, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Trying to get political.
Yeah. 1991 came in like lightning, and their soon-to-be superstars emerged on noteworthy albums. Nas, Tupac, and Busta Rhymes. Looking back years later, 1991 was undeniably one of the genre's greatest years of rap, with emerging to a powerhouse in music. We got introduced to Del the Funky Homo Sapien, who was actually Ice Cube's cousin. Black Sheep, Naughty by Nature, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Cypress Hill. MC Hammer went just to become Hammer.
You know? Hammer, don't hurt him.
Let's move on to 1992. That was a transitional year between two classic mini eras. Dr. Dre's The Chronic changed the music, and Pete Rock and CL Smooth's Mecca and the Soul Brother was a classic, but they were alone. Redman. Who else was there? EPMD. And I think now it's time for a comment.
Welcome to Clark Comments. Shut up and buckle up as the good doctor kicks out the jams and offers a selection of questionable, disturbed opinions that are somehow related to popular music.
I'm going to comment on something that's kind of held sacrosanct by music lovers all over the world. A few months back, Disney went into high marketing, trying to hide the fact that they'd blown millions, but they had, on re-editing, recutting the Beatles' 1969 film Let It Be by a guy named Michael Lindsay Hogg, which I have, and it is depressing watching really the Beatles sitting around going, I don't know, what do you want to do, Paul? And that type of stuff. It's just brutal. And so this guy, Jackson, who made Lord of the Rings and Hobbit and all this stuff, he was hired by Disney to recut. Now, I confess, I have seen all 3 segments on Disney Channel. I have sat through it. I came back alive, bruised, battered, but alive, to report my findings from the field. And so I looked online for an article that came close to how I felt. This is from The Guardian, used to be the Manchester Guardian, of course, November 22nd, 2021, titled The Beatles, 8 hours of TV, so aimless it threatens your sanity. This guy is right down the path with me. So I've excerpted some of this and put some of my own stuff in to give you a feel. And I know there's a lot of, hey, I love the Beatles too, but this is brutal. This is just stunning. Maybe even 50 years ago it was stunning in terms of this boredom. The Beatles' 1970 album, Let It Be, and its depressing accompanying documentary were always bugbears among the former Fabs. John Lennon dismissed the music as badly recorded shite. Paul McCartney was so horrified by the album that he masterminded a new version in 2003, shorn of the additions by Phil Spector. It's terrible, by the way, whom Lennon employed as a producer without telling Paul. None of the Beatles turned up to the documentary's premiere. Ringo objected that, quote, it was very narrow and had no joy, as if anyone cares what Ringo says. Anyway, Peter Jackson's Get Back is a documentary series designed to address Starr's concerns. It shows a broader, ostensibly happier picture of the band's doomed 1969 project to write a new album, rehearse the songs, and perform them live in 2 weeks. Okay, you can just tell that's not going to work. Whether the Get Back sessions hasten the Beatles' demise remains moot, but a preponderance of footage featuring songs sung in funny voices, mugging to the camera, and in-jokes can't stop the initial sessions at Twickenham Studios from looking like misery. Harrison was alternatively surly and prickly, as you would be if you brought in a song as good as All Things Must Pass and got lukewarm reception. Lennon is visibly, joylessly stoned out of his gourd, valiantly attempting to jolly things together. McCartney keeps slipping into passive-aggressive wheedling. Matters aren't helped by the original documentary's director, Michael Lindsay Hogg, who insists that the band should perform in an amphitheater in Tripoli, quote, torchlit in front of 2,000 Arabs, unquote, and is heroically undaunted by various Beatles telling him where to stick his idea. He is still at it when Harrison storms out and can't be persuaded back, a move that McCartney genuinely seems to think signals the end of the band. As McCartney sits disconsolately in Twickenham, eyes brimming, Lindsay Hogg seizes the moment, quote, I think we should have a good location, unquote. The Beatles have apparently split up, but the dream of Tripoli and its torchlit Arabs lives on. Things improve when the band decamped to a studio in Apple's headquarters, at least for the Beatles. For the viewer, it's another matter. Jackson is not a director known for the brevity of his approach. His version of King Kong is twice the length of the original. His Hobbit films turned a 310-page novel into 8 hours of cinema. And so it proves here. The 3 episodes of Get Back last the better part of 8 hours. There are doubtless Beatlemaniacs who think that it's impossibly stingy. There's a bootleg set of recordings from the Get Back sessions that fills 89 CDs. But for everyone else, its sheer length can feel like a schlep. It is hard not to boggle at the Beatles' productivity, ostensibly short of material, but at the outset, after a month they have grubbed up not only the entire Let It Be album, but also half of the Abbey Road album, and a selection of songs that ended up on early non-Beatle albums, Jealous Guy, Backseat of My Car, and Lennon's Give Me Some Truth. But the moments, of inspiration and interest are marooned amid acres of desultory chit-chat, aimless rambling, as Lennon calls it, and repetition. There is a point about 5 hours in when the prospect of hearing yet another ramshackle version of Don't Let Me Down becomes an active threat to the viewer's sanity. This is doubtless what recording an album is like, but for an onlooker, to use the language of 1969, it's a real drag. Much opprobrium has been cast at Yoko Ono for her constant presence at Beatles recording sessions, but after this, you'll marvel at her fortitude for sitting through them. With Lindsay Hogg's 2,000 torchlit Arabs in memory, it ends with a famous concert on the roof of Apple headquarters, which Jackson makes the most of by showing it in split screen, shared with footage of the street below, and police arguing it with the building's receptionist. It is 40 minutes of untrampled joy, but it is an inordinately long and winding road to get there. You wonder how many viewers will last the distance, and if any other of the aforementioned maniacs will take it more than once. Okay, folks, that's excerpts from the article, so I'm here to tell you it is boring. And yes, no matter how hard mastermind manipulator McCartney has the film recut, or rather suggested Peter Jackson was to recut the film, there's just no way to accept these four guys as the fun-loving mob tops a la Hard Day's Nights. Impossible. These guys really aren't having a good time. At least not while on drugs anyway. And it was time to call it quits. Everything ends. It's okay, including the Beatles. And no amount of editing can cover that. The fact that for a final live performance, the Beatles dragged their equipment up to the roof of their studio and warbled their beautiful songs for no one in particular, no audience, is both sad and damning. There's no audience, just employees and hangers-on, baffled street passerbyers, 30 feet below. That the greatest rock band in the world is reduced to this is plain pathetic. Harrison was right to quit halfway through these sessions. He was the only one showing glimpses of sanity, as in, what the hell are we doing here? Everyone's miserable. It's no coincidence that Get Back was financed by Disney, a company that believes in happy endings and Never Neverland. Either Get Back is yet another clever, profitable repackaging of long-gone Beatles, or somehow provides a valuable insight into a band we hardly know anything about. That wasn't a question, obviously. Anyway, I think the film is aptly named Get Back. In a perfect world, I really should have renamed it Let It Be, please. Just leave it alone. This has been Ian Clark in Clark Comments.
Nice.
Well, Dr. Clark K, you have some interesting comments today.
Well,
tell us how you really feel.
How'd that come? Why not? That's why I'm here. The comment.
And with that,
yes,
going back to 1992, so we're going to fast forward from the Beatles' last concert in '69 to...
hardly a concert,
which
yeah.
your Dr. Clark K here kind of frowns a little bit, but...
what a concert. You go, let's go to the roof. Can we go to the Hollywood Bowl? No, the roof.
By the way, 92 was almost the year that hip-hop was on various forms on radio. It was the first time that sounds like G-Funk and hardcore hip-hop were played alongside more commercial acts like Arrested Development and Criss Cross. This was also the year that Canadian hip-hop reggae artist Snow made headlines with his hit Informer. We got to jump around with House of Pain and their debut album Shamrocks and Shenanigans. Death Row Records was an American record label founded in 1992 by Dr. Dre, Suge Knight, and the DOC, alongside with Dick Griffey. The label became a sensation by releasing multi-platinum hip-hop albums by West Coast-based artists such as Dr. Dre, The Chronic, Snoop Dogg, Dogg Style, The Dog Pound, Dog Food, and Tupac Shakur, All Eyes on Me, during the 1990s. Its peak of Death Row was making over $100 million US a year, and for those of you that saw the Super Bowl, everyone that was there is a product of Dr. Dre.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it? Oh my God. It was like one of the greatest halftime shows ever. Let's go with 1993. That was the year the future pros came on board into the scene. The likes of Snoop Dogg, who was produced by NWA's Dr. Dre. Del the Funky Homo Sapien came onto the scene. Again, courtesy of his cousin and NWA alumni Ice Cube. East Coast hardcore enter the Wu-Tang Clan. Onyx with their smash hit Slam. Cypress Hill with Black Sunday. Naughty by Nature with 1993. Even some powerhouse soundtracks like Judgment Night and Menace to Society, which actually I recommend you guys listen to those soundtracks. Also 1994 came stacked with young talent from all over the map. It was a year that hip-hop was reborn. There were groundbreaking albums from New York. Nas's Illmatic, the Notorious B.I.G., Ready to Die, Method Man, and I could go on and on and on and on. Obviously, Tupac, it's very important we mention him. These are things that come out of, now you got rap coming out of Chicago, coming out of Atlanta. You know, inner cities now are starting to merge and form and create new sounds. 1995 was the midpoint of the decade. It was also the year in which the culture started down a path that would end in violence and confusion. While there had been rumblings about discord between artists from the two coasts, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg were booed upon accepting an award. Puff Daddy announced, "I live in the East and I'm going to die in the East." And Suge Knight took not-so-veiled shot at Puff when appealing to young artists. It began a 2-year standoff that would lead to the deaths of the two of the culture's biggest stars, in Tupac and in Biggie Smalls, who was known as Notorious B.I.G. Outside of the drama, there was some great music from all over the map. From California came Tupac's Me Against the World, the Dog Pound's Dog Food, the Ferricide's I can't even pronounce that, but it's La Cabin in California. I like when they put everything together. Cypress Hill, Temples of Boom. We had also Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Did you mention Doggy Style?
Doggy Style is on there too.
Okay.
Yes. And then Cleveland.
Always important.
Yeah, and Cleveland also received some long overdue shine thanks to respectively to Goody Mob's Soul Food, The Roots, Do You Want More, and like I said, Bone Thugs and Harmony. They came out of Cleveland. Oh my God! Oh, let's see here. 1996. It started off as a great year for rap music, but it fell in September with the death of Tupac. His album All Eyes on Me was released and well received, and to find some positive in the art of music, the year saw classic debut albums from Jay-Z, Busta Rhymes, Foxy Brown, Ghostface Killer, and Lil' Kim. Spectacular follow-ups by Mobb Deep, The Roots, Redman, and blockbuster releases by Fugees, Nas, and Pac himself twice. While it faded towards the end 1996, it still has a nearly impeccable resume. 1997, the murder of the Notorious B.I.G. in March, merely 6 months after the killing of Tupac, cast a pall over the entire culture. But the music endured. Bad Boy dominated the year with trifecta of classics: B.I.G.'s Life After Death, Puff Daddy's No Way Out, and Mace's Harlem World. Wu-Tang also returned with full effect with their own double album Wu-Tang Forever that broke sales records. Jay-Z, In My Lifetime, Volume 1, and Nas, the Firm Group album. They both released albums that had strong and weak moments, but new artists like Capone and Noriega, Company Flow, and Missy Elliott, they were introduced new styles. Will Smith returned to the mic with Big Willie style. Master P broke through the old mainstream, and the world saw its first seemingly countless projects of old Tupac songs, Are You Still Down and Remember Me. 1998, two figures that had taken up so much space and attention were gone, and there was plenty of room for others to take some of the spotlight. Much like 1987, 1998 was a year in which new and previously overlooked artists took the opportunity to shape and mold hip-hop in their own image. DMX took hip-hop by storm, releasing 2 #1 albums. It's Dark and Hell is Hot, and Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. In the same year, his peers, including Big Punisher, came out with Capital Punishment, and Jay-Z came out with A Hard Knock's Life. 1999, let's enter Marshall Mathers, better known as Eminem, the protege of Dr. Dre. Like artists before Dre, has produced Snoop Dogg and Tupac. Now he produced a young man from the 8 Mile District in Detroit. His debut album, the Slim Shady LP, made its mark. Dre released 2001. Chocolare from Scarborough, Ontario came onto the scene with Ice Cold. Swollen Members from the west coast of Canada came out with their album Balance and their smash hit Lady Venom. And the Rascals also came from Vancouver out with their album Global Warming. Some of the old boys came back with albums, the likes of Slick Rick, Beastie Boys. 3 of the Wu-Tang Boys came with albums, Method Man, Redman, and Old Dirty Bastard. 1999 turned out to be a decent year. And I think I hear some noise.
Welcome to Kennedy's Corner. Following the advice of a behavioral psychologist, Ferris Kennedy has created a forum to express his nightmares, his terror, and his love of rock music. Dr. Clark and medicated Wheeler help with his therapy by answering questions, or just acting like they're interested.
The rap hip-hop edition.
Here we go. So soon.
So you ready?
Hey, like the princess said to the prince. Sure, go ahead.
All right, Dr. Clark K, I'm going to start with you today.
Yeah.
Ice Cube's real name is A. Michael Bivins, B. O'Shea Jackson, C. Lionel Holmes, or D. Stephen Washington.
I'm going with D. Steve Washington.
The correct answer is O'Shea Jackson.
Wait a second. Are you sure?
100%.
So he's Irish.
I guess.
I could tell by looking he was Irish.
Yeah.
Jay-Z's song Izzo, which is H to the O, V to the VA, Popping Tags, Guess Who's Back, Diamonds from Sierra Leone, Takeover, Otis, featuring Otis Redding, Never Let Me Down, were actually produced by a Chicago producer known as Kanye West before Kanye started repping Chicago in the rap scene.
That's true. Yes, that's
sir.
true. I knew that one.
Maestro Fresh West has been dubbed the godfather of rap hip-hop in Canada. Yes or no?
Yes.
What year? Do you remember?
1968. I'm kidding. He started to drool for a second. A big... I don't know. 1989.
There you go.
All right.
Ice-T, you all know him from Law and Order,
And the
SVU.
drink he invented too.
And he's on the Tide commercial. But Ice-T's real name is Tracy Morgan, Tracy Williams, Tracy Moreau, or Tracy Monroe.
Oh, I don't know. It's Tracy something. I know that.
It's Tracy.
I don't think it's the first guy. He's a comic, I think. What was the last one you said?
Tracy Monroe.
No. What's the third one?
Tracy Merrill.
Tracy Merrow.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Ian, you remember this one. We spoke about it. Ladies Delight was the first Canadian rap song released by Mr. Q, also known as James Wesley J. McGee in 1979.
I'm going to go for that one. That sounds true.
Yes, sir.
That's 79?
Yeah.
Holy Christ, that's a long time ago.
And you always said back then everything had delight in it.
Yeah, it's true. D-E-E.
People were delightful.
Yeah, that's true.
Run DMC revived Aerosmith's career with their cover and collaboration of Walk This Way.
There's no question. Yes, there's no question. I remember it.
Vanilla Ice was into home renovations before he became a rapper. Yes or no?
That's true.
No, motocross.
Oh, shoot.
He did home renovations after his rap career.
So there was a trick. That's called entanglement.
MC Ren, member of NWA. His real name is A. Lorenzo Patterson, B. Robert James, C. Michael Wright, or D. Marshall Mathers.
Robert James.
No, Lorenzo Patterson.
You're lying. That's an Italian name. Hey, Lorenzo.
Dr. Dre. So, true or false? Dr. Dre produced Eminem, and Eminem produced 50 Cent. True or false?
Eminem produced 50. Didn't think about that one. I don't know about that. I'm going to say true.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Eminem. 50 Cent is the protege of Eminem.
That's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Usher's responsible for Bieber. I'll never forgive him for that.
MC Search was an original member of Third Base. Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
But I said it definitively. I never even heard of the band.
Until today.
Yeah.
All right.
4 minutes ago.
DJ Wheels.
Yes, be prepared to see how white I am.
All right. Professor Griff was a member of NWA.
True?
No, Public Enemy.
Public Enemy.
You fool. You damn fool.
Canadian rapper Devon was known as the Subway King in Toronto.
That sounds very Canadian, so yeah, true.
No, Mr. Metro.
That's entrapment. I mean, who knows, Devon?
Maestro Fresh West's real name is A. Wesley Smith, B. Wesley Thomas, D. Keith Daniels, or C. Keith Daniels, or D. Wesley
Or
Williams.
E. Dinah Ross.
C, I'm guessing.
No, Wesley Williams is D. Yes. Yes? No?
No, I said C.
Yeah, no. It's D.
D, okay.
Yes.
Dinah Ross.
Diana Ross.
Okay. It's Wesley Williams for all the listeners. Number 4. Darren Kenneth O'Brien is better known as MC Shan.
True?
No.
No.
He's known as Snow.
Okay.
Does he know that? They call me Snow?
The founding father of hip-hop, some would say, is DJ Kool Herc. But the Sugar Hill Gang brought it to mainstream, yes or no?
Yes.
That is correct. Dr. Dre has Death Row Records.
No.
Correct. He started it, but now it's owned by Snoop Dogg.
No.
Yeah.
Doggy style.
Yes, sir. Young MC and Tone Loc were both on Ruthless Records when they started.
Oh, wow. True?
No, Delicious Vinyl.
Oh.
He did the research on it, too.
A while back.
50 Cent real name is
$1.50.
Curtis James Jackson III.
That one.
Curtis, okay, you got it. So, Jason Drew Harrow, a.k.a. Cardinal Official, is always credited as Canadian hip-hop ambassador.
Yes.
Correct. And the final question, kind sir. Swollen members hail from Antigonish, Nova Scotia.
False.
That's right. They hail from Vancouver.
Yeah.
If you would have said yes to that, I'm like, wow.
You've been listening to me.
So that is what I have for Kennedy's Corner.
Corner.
And, DJ Wheels, go ahead from the 90s top albums that you think are worth mentioning.
Okay, so it's not so much worth mentioning because you mentioned so many of them so eloquently. These, I'd say, are things that are really worth it for your collection, if only for fun in some cases, others because you really can't not have them in your collection. So in 1990, I'd say Mama Knock You Out by LL Cool J, Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted with 3Ks, and Run DMC, Back from Hell, because I just love Run DMC. 1991, I'd go with Ice-T's OG, Original Gangster, A Tribe Called Quest, The Low End Theory, and Cypress Hill, because Cypress Hill are just a cool bunch of guys you really need to have in your collection. 1992, Dr. Dre, of course, The Chronic, who cannot have that? And as Kennedy has found out, it's as good, if not better, on vinyl as it is on CD.
Yes, I was listening to it the other day. I like the...
Yeah, that's great.
So, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Mac Daddy for 92, House of Pain, because if you ever want to see your needle jump on a vinyl, that's the perfect album for it. And, well, because we're a proud Canadian, Snow, 12 Inches of...
That's actually a good album, actually.
93, you cannot not have Enter the Wu-Tang in your collection. Doggy Style, as Dr. Clark has shown us, is an easy one.
It's his favorite album.
It's his favorite album.
Just so the name alone.
Exactly. And
The
also,
subtlety of it all.
I'd say if you want to have people's jaw drop, have Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq Diesel in your collection. It's
actually, no, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good, but it's just people will not believe that you have a Shaquille O'Neal album in your collection. 94, you have to have Ready to Die by Notorious B.I.G. And Beastie Boys, I'm never sure, it's Ill Communication. So Ill Communication. 95, you need Old Dirty Bastards, Return to the 36 Chambers.
Originally titled Love and Happiness.
Exactly.
I don't know what happened. I'm not sure what happened. It got changed during the production.
I'm on 2-pack. I'm not sure which one you should have. It's either California Love or Me Against the World. I would go with Me Against the World
It's a more
personally.
prominent album.
Coolio's Gangster Paradise. Although I highly recommend that you also have the Weird Al Amish Paradise.
That's pretty funny.
Just because it pissed off Coolio so much.
I don't think
so
it pissed
long.
him off. He had to ask permission to spoof it.
No, he did. he refused it. He was the only artist who ever refused to being spoofed by a Weird Al, but it all was already filmed and already recorded. So, but it's the only artist who ever complained.
Wow, I can't believe they even allowed it.
You can't stop it. I can cover anything. You can cover anything.
Yeah. You can't stop it?
No.
Ooh, okay.
No.
For 96...
If you attribute it.
No, exactly. And everybody knew exactly who he was doing.
It's like a surgeon, like a virgin, right?
Exactly, yeah.
If you attribute it, you're fine.
96, I'd say Reasonable Doubt by Jay-Z. You have to have it. The score by the Fugees. That
is actually, it's on that top list of albums.
Yeah, it's one of those albums you really cannot pass. Busta Rhymes, The Come In Again. You can't pass it. And just because I love that title, Dog Fodder by Snoop Doggy Dogg. 97, Missy Elliott's Super Duper Fly. Life After Death by the Notorious B.I.G. I'd go with also Coolio My Soul, although I find this one doesn't age as well necessarily as others, but just because it's one of those historic albums. As a proud Canadian, Cardinal Official, I and I, that you really need this one. Puff Daddy and a Family, No Way Out. And because it's Will Smith, Big Willie style. 98, Tupac's Greatest Hits. You cannot not have The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill in your collection. And DMX, It's Dark and Hell is Hot. And for 99, Blackout by Method Man and Redman. Older D Bastards, Please. I'm not saying the first word because Dr. Dre's 2001. And Chaclair, Ice Cold.
All right.
Thank you.
So now we're heading into the final 4 years of my research, and people say, well, why did you do 79 to 04? Because in the words of Vanilla Ice, that is when the lost generation started. Music did not mimic the fashion. People weren't going to malls as much anymore. Everything has changed. The iPhone came out, so now everyone is lost into the cyber world. And it brings up a good point, because 2000, that was the year of Y2K, or it seems to be a follow-up for Eminem with the Marshall Mathers LP. Ghostface Killer produced a gem of an album called Supreme Clientele, Country Grammar by Nelly, and Outkast nailed it with his Stankonia and their hit Miss Jackson. Let's not forget, Jay-Z and the Wu-Tang Clan made a cameo in the Year of Music, and Dr. Dre sues Napster. Yeah. 2001, Canada's Cardinal Officiel, or Cardinal Official, releases Quest for Fire. Ja Rule with Pain is Love. D12 comes out with Devil's Night, which Eminem is part of that group. Jay-Z released Blueprint and an Unplugged album. Nas's Stillmatic made the year different, but as per the critics, it was okay. 2002, things start to look and sound different in the world of rap hip-hop. There is a new R&B flair to it. Eminem is still releasing albums. He came out with the Eminem Show. He starred in his movie, which is depicted in his biopic 8 Mile, and a soundtrack came with it. Jay-Z is continuing his dominance with the Blueprint 2. Chaclair from Canada releases Memoirs of Blake Savage, and Nelly puts out Nellyville. In my opinion, it's not a strong year. 2003, a spark emerged. Eminem produces 50 Cent in his album Get Rich or Die Trying. It's a success. Pharrell and his Neptunes release Clones. Jay-Z is back with the Black Album. West Coast Boys from Canada, Swollen Members, released their album Heavy. To be honest, the CD and the case alone weighed a ton. It was like a DVD, a CD, and then they had the thick booklet there. It weighed like a friggin' pound.
Quite ambitious.
Yes. An argument could be that 2003 is the most intriguing year in hip-hop history, at least in terms of albums released. The game's biggest name are Jay-Z. 50 Cent was most anticipated new artist since Snoop and Outkast crafted a genre-bending double album that won a Grammy for Album of the Year. In addition, the Black Album, Get Rich or Die Trying, and Speakerbox, The Love Below, those were gems. And then courtesy of newer artists like T.I., which he did Freeway, and Obi Trice, veterans such as Gangstar, and less commercial MCs including Brother Ali, Immortal Technique, J-Lib, and Little Brother. 2003 was the final year of hip-hop the way it had been. 2004, to those had dominated in recent years, Jay-Z, Eminem, Dr. Dre, they took a step back, and new artists like Kanye West, Lil Wayne, T.I., and different regions from Houston, Memphis became more of a focal point. Jay-Z collaborated with Linkin Park to create Collision Course, and like Vanilla Ice stated, 2004 was the start of the lost generation. When he was in the game, the music mimicked fashion. UMTV Raps in USA and Much Music Rap City were a thing. Now it's a distant memory you can stream on Vivo. How we miss the good old days of hip-hop. So, going down to the final part of my research, someone asked me, well, who are the major pioneers in hip-hop rap? And in my opinion, the major pioneers that changed the music of rap from decade to decade are as the following. 1970s. The major pioneers of rapping were DJ Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash, and the Furious Five, Curtis Blow, and the Cold Crush Brothers, whose Grandmaster Kaz is controversially considered by some to be the true author of some of the strongest lyrics in Rapper's Delight. These early MCs and DJs constituted rap old school. The Sugar Hill Gang inaugurated the history of recorded hip-hop with their single Rapper's Delight, a multi-platinum seller and radio hit in 1979. The group was cooked up to cash in on a supposed novelty item. Music industry producer and label owner Sylvia Robinson had become aware of this massive hip-hop block parties occurring around the New York area during the late 70s. So she gathered 3 local rappers, Master G, Wonder Mike, and Big Bank Hank, to record the single, infectious and catchy Rapper's Delight. 1980s. More than any other hip-hop group, Run DMC are responsible for the sound and style of the music. As the first hardcore rap outfit, the trio set the sound and style for the next decade of rap. With their spare beats and excursions into heavy metal samples, the trio were tougher and more menacing than their predecessors Grandmaster Flash and Houdini, spelt with H-O-Dini. In the process, they opened the door for both politicized rap of Public Enemy and Boogie Down Productions, as well as a hedonistic gangster fantasies of NWA. At the same time, Run DMC helped move rap from singles-oriented genres to an album-oriented one. They were the first hip-hop artists to construct full-fledged albums, not just collections with 2 singles and a bunch of fillers. By the end of the 1980s, Run DMC had been overtaken by the groups they had spawned, but they continued to perform to a dedicated following well into the 1990s.
And they continued to wear unlaced white sneakers.
Adidas, to be exact.
Oh, there you go.
They actually have a song, My Adidas.
Wow.
1990s, Dr. Dre was responsible for moving away from the avant noise and political stance of Public Enemy and Boogie Down Productions, as well as the party vibes of old school rap. Instead, Dr. Dre pioneered gangster rap and his own variation of the sound. G-Funk, while BDP's early albums were hardcore by cautionary tales of the criminal mind, Dre's records with NWA celebrated the hedonistic, immoral side of gang life. Dre was never much of a rapper. His rhymes were simple, and his delivery was slow and clumsy. But as a producer, he was extraordinary. With NWA, he mended the noise collages of the Bomb Squad with funky rhythms. On his own, he reworked George Clinton's elastic funk into the self-styled G-Funk, a slow-rolling variation that relied more on sound than content. When he left NWA in 1992, he founded Death Row Records with Suge Knight and the DOC, and the label quickly became the dominant force of mid-90s, and his productions for Snoop Doggy Dogg and Black Shoot were massive hits. For nearly 4 years, G-Funk dominated hip-hop, and Dre had enough sense to abandon it. And Death Row, just before the whole empire collapsed in late 1996, Dre retaliated by forming a new company called Aftermath. And while it was initially slow getting started, his bold moves forward earned critical respect. He later launched Beats by Dr. Dre, a company that introduced the celebrity headphones phenomenon, later morphed into a streaming music service, and was then bought by Apple Incorporated. Late 1996, Jay-Z, the Projects to the Throne, New York rapper, producer, and entrepreneur, embodied the quintessential rags to riches dream. So what do you want to say? 1996? It's all Jay-Z if you ask me. And that's pretty well it that I have on my history.
Very interesting.
Nice.
Very good. Thank you. For anyone out there wondering, any other questions, send us an email.
Well, people did want to know what my favorite artists were. I have a couple, if I may list them.
No, of course. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Kennedy's favorite artists are Young MC,
Yeah.
Ice Cube, MC Search, Eazy-E,
Linda
Beastie
Ronstadt.
Boys,
No.
Maestro Fresh West, NWA, Eminem, Dr. Dre, Run DMC. I love Jay-Z. I like Vanilla Ice, Public Enemy, and who could we not forget, Ice-T.
And Kenny Loggins.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just wondering. I gotta sneak that on somehow.
And that's what I have.
Thank you very much. Boy, a lot of research. Thank you. A million names there. And labels.
We good for a vinyl
And a review, of course.
Oh, hello.
The music at night, it sounds bright on Wheeler's turntable. He shines a light, he keeps his vinyl in sight, and gives you his magnificent review. Now here's a clue we have for you. It's time for Wheeler's Vinyl Review.
Basically, I have nothing to add for your collection in terms of the early 21st century artists, because you've named all the good albums. So basically, I decided to do a vinyl review, a little double for our Canadian audience out there. So the first one was De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising, which was released by Tommy Boy, which is now in the Warner Brothers empire. It came out in '89, at a time when gangsta rap was on the rise. They actually went in a different direction with tunes that were playful and fun.
That's STA, by the way, not TER, as in gangster.
Yes.
Gangsta.
Ironically, this album was probably one of the cheapest ever produced in terms of the cost for recording. It was $13,000.
Wow, nothing.
It was done on a Casio drum machine and a sampler with an harmonizer. Like most hip-hop rap artists of that era, they use plenty of samples. So for those of you who are long-time listeners to our show, I actually highly recommend that you buy this album just because you'll hear samples from the Monkees, Alan Holtz, and Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, I think they sampled Mary Mary from the Monkees.
I think so, yes.
No, I like that we said it. Mary.
Mary, Mary, where you go? Why does it bug you?
Yeah, why you're bugging? Yeah.
Yeah, those weren't the original. But the original.
So if you can find a good copy, the sound is usually very good. And I highly recommend that you find one where you have a cover where the cover is in a really good shape, because the inner sleeve of the vinyl had a comic strip printed into it featuring the group traveling from Mars and talking with a cartoon duck. So it just goes
Why
to
not,
show,
man? Why
exactly. Then I'd go slightly darker. I'd go with Dr. Dre, The Chronic, which originally came out in '92 on Death Row. Now, I think if you buy the album, it's on Priority or Interscope. I'm not exactly sure. It depends on the print you're
You didn't do it on his Aftermath label?
Some of the prints, I think. I saw a print from the 90s, so that one was on
How would
Death
that
Row.
work if you already own a company and then you
You can
sold
farm it out.
No,
You can?
You can farm the master, sure.
Like, he's smart. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He's
Super smart,
He's
yeah.
smart.
So this is one of those seminal albums that you need in your collection.
What are you, 92, you said?
92, yeah.
It's a very good album, man. I'll lend it to you. Don't scratch it, though.
Don't lend it to me. I plan to scratch it. There goes a $400 needle.
Exactly. So this album is a game changer, and I've never heard a really bad pressing of it. They're usually really well done. I mean, try to avoid one that comes from a DJ's record collection. That's about all I could say about this one. You really hear the grittiness of the late 80s, early 90s on there. You hear his dislike of his fellow former NWA member Eazy-E and Ice Cube. This is one of those albums you don't necessarily listen to when you have kids around. But then again, you can say this of a lot of 90s music anyways.
Right,
So I highly recommend it. That being said, beware. They have every once in a while a price rise on the Chronic. Always wait a few years. It's going to be repressed up the wazoo because it's a legendary album.
Good, thank you.
Well, I'm glad I have it on vinyl
Exactly.
and CD.
I'm glad you do too.
And cassette and
No, I don't have it on cassette. No, cassettes were expensive back then.
Yeah, they wore out too.
Some of them were like $30.
I think they were good for 30 plays before disintegration.
Cassettes?
The half-life disintegration.
I think so. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
especially if you had a cheap Walkman.
I can't believe though it's coming back. It's such an inconvenience. I think.
Well, especially in the winter. My God, they'd lock up.
Oh, yeah.
Sub-zero.
Or
Oh, come on.
You'd use a pencil to.
Yeah.
Well, kids will finally know the pain that it is to use a
No,
pencil.
you guys didn't even know the pain of 8 tracks. Talk about
that's
cassettes
true.
locking up. Oh, come on. Bang, 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 bang on your knee. Put them back in.
So this is it.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks very much. And a very informative session here.
So I'm gonna sign off as MC Kennedy,
Dr. Clark K.
and
DJ Wheels.
thank you for listening. See you next time.
Ciao for now.
Ciao, ciao.